rules that came from Prabhupada in regards to standards, and we're also going to be changed to do some little dance steps of the way we're supposed to do. Again, standards established by Prabhupada, and anybody's good at ululating, we might do a demonstration there, and clapping, everything to do with it, and also the approach here, how do we approach it. So all those different So anybody want to say something about that? Just very briefly. Okay, you can say see, singular, or you can say no. See? All right, okay, great. Please think about what you could do to implement some improvement. Maybe I'll ask you then the question, what are some of the things, the areas that you feel?
understood for, again, temple kirtans, no one should sing a bhajan unless all the devotees know what the song means. So not just knowing the, I guess, lyrics or the words to the song, but actually understanding what it means too, which is quite important for the many bhajans that we sing during the day.
Okay.
Marge, maybe this is a good time to take a bio break?
Sure. I think it's not a bad idea. Okay. So that means washroom, water.
It's 11:04, so 11:10.
Okay. So intake and discharge. Okay.
Yes.
A few words here in between. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna.
It looks much better. More succinct, like very clean. You can see the words.
Okay, Prabhus, is this a little better? Oh, God. Even. So let's continue then, Prabhus, from where we left off. We'll start off with a little bit of entertainment, and I hope it's okay to you. Some people like slapstick. I think some of it's funny. Okay, Keystone Cops.
Is there an echo?
Hmm?
Is it?
Oh, we got it. What? So we tell him?
Oh, the streaming. Oh, okay. I was wondering why there's an echo. Very delayed echo.
Can we do something about that? So, thank you for coming back. We hope you had a very nice bio experience. Very exciting. We'll continue with our presentation and let's see what we can do here.
And just as a side note, we will be serving prasadam around 12:30. So that'll kind of be our next break. And for the purposes of getting your certificates at the end, we'll quickly do an attendance. So if at that time, as we're breaking at that time, if you could just come over to me and I know most of your names, but still, just to get everybody's names down that you've attended, and I'll have that for our certificates tomorrow.
Okay, ready to rock and roll here. Volume. Sometimes it looks like that when we're getting Harinam together. Good conclusion. Yay. So we mean no disrespect to our local police force. But a lot of what we're talking about is just to get organized, you know, on many different fronts. Okay.
Oh, I don't think it's solo. We'd gone through like A, B, C, D, E. Yeah, that's the one. I was just reflecting on that video that, you know, sometimes for the sake of chanting or wanting to do kirtan, we kind of go like, it's okay, we'll just haphazardly do it, we'll figure it out, you know, go out there and just figure it out. But there is clearly merit in preparing, making sure we're all organized and that we don't look like that, because we may not realize it in our own mood, in our own I guess, bhav, that, you know, we don't realize that we're coming off looking like that. And of course, it's an exaggeration. I know that no one's jumping over or trying to like run into a car like they were, but certainly we can be a bit more organized in that way.
We can be sattvic,
Yes.
as opposed to rajasic. Okay. Public kirtan. Here we go. Prabhupada specifically described how kirtan should be done in public. In street chanting, liberties may be taken to make the chanting more attractive to the public, such as additional instrumentation, dance choreography, and attractive dress. The same applies to festivals and Sunday feast kirtans. Okay? The people in general can be reached very well by the distribution of our literatures and by the propagation of Sankirtan in the streets. These are our two mridungas for reawakening the sleeping, conditioned souls. And that's a letter to Janardhan, one of the first devotees to have joined our, ISKCON Canadian Yatra in 1970. We're trying to get a hold of the Prabhu. Okay, would you like to read this?
So the next quote is, "The most important aspect of our preaching is kirtan. Induce the people to chant. That is the only thing. Then everything else will follow." This is a letter to Kirtiraj, January 11th, 1976.
I remember doing a kirtan in one of those eastern towns, Sydney, Nova Scotia. There were just a few of us, and people were kind of shocked. This never happens in their town. But one lady came out, "Oh, thank you for coming. You're making us so happy." Like that, right? And somebody mentioned to, I think Gabriel, it was you yesterday, you mentioned to me after Queen's Park. Didn't one person say that? "Oh, you're reminding me of the 70s. Maybe it was somebody else. Okay, yeah, okay. But the whole, you can look at an encyclopedia, like what is Hare Krishna, and there's a mention there about people are happy in their religious practices. Okay, let's move on. Shall we do this one together, Prabhus? 1, 2, 3, go. To advance in spiritual life, the beginning is Shraddha, faith. Shraddha means respectful. Oh, it is nice. That is called Shraddha. Okay. And this is one of our veteran devotees, if I can use that, vintage devotee. What's his name now?
Badaharidas.
Badahari, yeah, from Alachua community, and that's his wife next to him. We've been on the bus tour with him. He does a wonderful job. Very nice, very grounded, very sober. Okay, good. So it looks attractive. Roles and responsibilities for people engaged in kirtan. Okay, we're looking at the, okay. So together, let's do this. Letter to Shyamasundar. 1, 2, 3, go. My special instruction to you all is that you practice Sankirtan very rhythmically and in a responsive way. That means one should chant first and others should follow him. So it's receive and respond. It's kind of really surprising how people don't get this. Like, you hear someone lead the kirtan and then everyone else responds. It's a very easy thing. I also went to an Orthodox church some years ago, and they have the same technique. The priest says something, everyone repeats it, and they go to all these icons. It's very, I call it Hindu or Vedic-like, And a lot of Christianity was influenced by Vedic culture from India, like the beads, chanting on the beads, and all these things. Okay. Shyamasundar. Anybody read his book?
Parts of it.
Yeah. Chasing the Rhino with the Swami. Oh, it's wonderful. Okay, let's look at the 3 main roles and responsibilities involved in engaging in kirtan. So we have the person who's leading, okay? We also have the supporting team. That G there is really interesting. the musicians, and then, of course, there's the responders. The responders, people who are, let's say, taking the kirtan, whatever they heard, now they're repeating it. The repeaters. Okay. Okay. Before we detail the practical responsibilities of these roles, let's discuss the spiritual qualities all roles must share. He must be himself always enthusiastic and inspire others to be always enthusiastic. Then he is real leader. Again, on the topic of inclusiveness as opposed to exclusive, right? Do you sometimes experience that some people are a little bit, let's say, showy with the kirtan? So I'm not pointing at anyone in particular. But what we want is, this is chanting as an offering to the Lord, to Krishna, to Radha Krishna. And there's no motive. It's not like a talent show. Here I am. How am I? It's not to get the attention, but the attention is to Krishna through the instruments that you use, whether it's the voice or how you play mridanga and all that. So, enthusiasm, lolyam apimulyam. That's enthusiasm that is, let's say, demonstrated in kirtan, and you simply want to share that and make everybody. It's like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was described to be like a live wire, and anybody who came in contact with him, they'd also get electrocuted and said, "I want to be part of this." So that's hopefully what a leader will be able to do by that person's magic, and especially by the purity. People are going to be attracted to the pureness more than anything else. Sincerity.
I think also, like, in thinking of a presentation, or if you're, we learn when we're younger that if you're doing a presentation, body language matters a lot as well. So in the same way, sometimes we might see someone who's really absorbed in leading the kirtan and end up closing their eyes, and they're really into the mood of the kirtan that they're presenting. But sometimes that can also be exclusive too, right? Because now you're not really engaging with the people who are even around you, who are, say, supporting by playing mridanga or kartals or other instruments, and also to the greater audience that might be there at, say, a Sunday feast or a festival. So that body language is also very important in presenting that enthusiasm. So you might be feeling enthusiasm internally, which is great, and we want that to happen, but at the same time, how that presents to everyone else around you is also valuable.
Yeah, we have to be careful not to be too caught up in a bubble, that to be exclusive, but rather to be inclusive. So if that is the case, that you're in a bubble, someone should come and pop the bubble. That's all. Oh yeah, there's other people around here. I've seen it myself. I've seen somebody leading kirtan, they're very self-absorbed, and then when you're looking, they've lost everyone else. Everyone else, they're either sleeping or they're just not in sync, So again, it's really important to draw people in. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was very inclusive on many levels. People from varying backgrounds came along, men and women, people of all ages and all different categories. This is what we mean by being inclusive. I just want to hit on that theme. Well, inclusiveness also means, your words, you're using your tongue, your upper and lower lips as well as the tongue, and your ear as well, and also your face. Facial expressions are important, Devotees who are leading should try to smile, especially in the public, because it really draws attention. And also the rest of the body. One popular kirtan leader, he was, we were in the same festival together, and he saw that I was getting everyone to dance a bit, and he mentioned at the end, to make the kirtan complete, there should be dancing, right? So when we're talking about inclusiveness, it involves everything from head to toe. Your absorption, your mind absorption, everything should be used as part of the kirtan. And bhajan tends to be a little more subdued, right? Okay. Any questions so far? Please put up your hands whenever. Yes.
Hare Krishna? It's on, yeah. I was thinking in terms of like what you were saying about how some people can be kind of close their eyes and shut out everybody else while they're leading. it may be because like they lack confidence, and it's a little nerve-wracking to sing and see that everybody's looking at you, and then they just want to like, the only way that they can keep going is to just kind of pretend that it's just them, and they're just trying to please Krishna with their voice and not get, and yeah, it's nerve-wracking that they're the center of attention is difficult. So how to deal with that if that's the case?
How to deal with that? Well, some people have the gift to be able to keep their eyes closed and get everybody going. But generally, I think it's good to show a little sense of showmanship. I'm not talking about ego-based. I'm just talking about how to get everyone involved. You know, it takes a little body language. You know, smile. Smiling is a big thing. It's like a welcoming thing. So I think both approaches can be there. And certainly when Prabhupada would be chanting with us, and he was in his 70s, he would be quite self-absorbed. He'd be in his bhava, and we all got excited. There was no problem there. And then there were times when, like at the London Rath Yatra, I think it was 1974, he was in the Kirtan and he was dancing. He just shot up, like up and down, the way the devotees described it, and it enthused them even more. So, you know, it's just, I think it's really important, whoever's leading, to be attentive to what's going on around you. And if you've lost your, say, audience or responders, then it's your job to try to bring them back in. I think it's an obligation.
And I think, I mean, I'm just thinking of a practical kind of solution or in this mood of being prepared and this sattvic mood of arranging, say, for example, if you've been scheduled to lead Kirtan, to make sure that there are devotees that you feel comfortable around are also there with you. And that can be something helpful so that at least, I know that we're not trying to create another bubble, but at least the devotees that you feel comfortable around are present around you, and that can also help to kind of reduce a bit of the feelings of anxiety, or, you know, this is to see so many people staring at you, so maybe a physical bubble in one sense, but still be able to kind of be aware and be able to communicate with those devotees that are nearby you who, say, are supporting, and try to work that up. But again, it's the showmanship without the ego part of it, I guess. And it is a fine art, and it is something that continually needs to be developed within oneself. But I think just starting off a bit simpler in that way, and then kind of building that confidence that way.
Yeah, that's helpful. Another thing I was thinking was that often when we lead Kirtan, the Kirtan leader is way up in the front, and everybody else is behind them. So, and the mic's there, so you can't, you know, in order to engage with the audience and kind of like just connect with them and get them going, you have to literally like turn around, put your back to the deities, your mouth is away from the mic. So it's a little bit of a challenge, just like the way the dynamics, the logistical situation is.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, and I believe it's going to be coming up as well. That, again, inclusiveness refers to whoever's leading the kirtan, that he or she is connected with the musicians, bringing them in. And that means some eye contact, you know? That's what it may mean. And also, you know, to physically be quite close together, you know? And especially in a room like this with the reverberation, the acoustical issues here, if you have someone leading the kirtan here with a microphone and the mridanga players over there, by the time the voice gets over there, it's a little delayed, right? So it's important that even physically we come together. This is what, like at Rath Yatra times, for instance, if you're leading the kirtan and people, you've got your mridanga players here, and then other people come in and they're going to divide us. You know, that's why that's almost a system that's not working. But yeah, it's important to physically be together. That's also what we mean by inclusiveness. Just like, you know, some of the best, this is like in more the mundane sense, but the people that are really successful out there on the stage are the ones that have that sense of togetherness. And we're going to have some things that will demonstrate that, how important it is to be on the same page or to be on the same surfing board, a whole bunch of people together. Is that okay, Bruce? That's a concern sometimes, isn't it? That you're not in your own little world. Forget it.
I'm just thinking, you know, when they do Kirtan Mela in Mayapur, the Kirtan leader and the mridanga and all the supporting instrument musicians, they're more towards the back. So then the leader can actually like see everybody, and then they can connect with them and see how they're responding. And
Right.
whereas if the Kirtan leader is way in the front, you can't see the people that
That's
you're supposed
right.
to connect with.
The positioning of people is quite vital in having a successful situation. Yeah.
I was going to say that I've seen some devotees who are, say, maybe in that position where, again, for whatever reason, acoustics, that they may not be able to be positioned in a place where they can see everyone. Sometimes I've heard like devotees will, as they're singing and everyone's responding, they might say, okay, everybody continue to sing together, or, you know, might say like, everybody, let's sing just to get everybody's attention again, or during the time when devotees are responding, that might be a time to kind of maybe turn around and get everyone clapping again, or just to engage with them. So that might, again, I'm just thinking from a practical sense that like, that's also a good time to kind of be able to do that. Because as you were mentioning before, that if you're singing, it's kind of hard to turn your back, and also you have the microphone in front of you. So I've seen devotees use those kind of techniques during that time to at least, if they're not able to physically connect with everyone, that they can either use their words or try to get everyone clapping again, or engage in some way, depending on the audience that's there.
Yeah, I'd like to share with you what happened last summer. I go to the various Rath Yatras in Canada and some in the US, and the best program we had was in Saskatoon. How did that work? Okay, so we were in the back of a pickup. I mean, it looked a little crude, and it wasn't decorated because it was very spontaneous. Just as we were about to get going, I thought, can I go on there? And then the djembe player next to me was with me, because we use the djembe because it's loud, and we had it mic'd. And then one girl came over to my side with the kartals. What was nice, we were up above everybody, and we were facing the crowd, and Jagannath was in the back. So we were so much in control. It was just wonderful. It was so inclusive. It worked better than any other formula we ever have come up with. It just worked so well, because I could see them, they could see me, and we were totally united. It was so inclusive, and we should try to follow that model. All right. Most of you know the famous Agni Dev. You know, we were in Edmonton together and trying to figure out how to make it work, you know, because when you're leading a kirtan and there's all these kind of people coming on you, and someone steps on your shoe, and you're over here and your shoe is way over there. And yeah, people come in, they break up the formation that you've established, so it's really hard. So there's things to be said about that. If the guys who are playing the mridangas are the support team for the leader, it'd be good if you could all dress the same. And then, you know, anyone who comes in says, oh, these are people who are rehearsed their practice. I think that's another topic. Okay, so here's Yamuna Devi. Woo, wonderful. And George. We haven't read this one yet, have we? Shall we do this together, Bruce? Leaders. 1, 2, 3, go. For the present, you may join Sankirtan party, because I know that your presence will enliven everyone. Yeah. So Yamuna Devi used to be on top of the, like on the cart in London. Mm-hmm. You know, so she could be heard, she could be seen, and Prabhupada knew that she has, you know, she has an ability to attract people and get people going and so on like that. Okay. Leaders, melodies. Whenever there were guests, Prabhupada almost always sang the standard Hare Krishna tune or some similarly very simple melodies. Okay. This is really important. Should we touch on that a little bit right now?
I was going to say that honestly, we hear this many times even in the mundane world, like simple is honestly the best way to go sometimes. And it shows in Srila Prabhupada's presentations. We've seen so many videos. And it's not that Prabhupada was not musically talented. He was very musically talented. There are many, if you look into more of the bhajan side and what Srila Prabhupada recorded otherwise, there are many obscure tunes that we actually haven't really tapped into yet. But the fact that Srila Prabhupada in any of those presentations, especially with someone, with people who were very new, and especially at that time, everybody was practically new to the Hare Krishna movement, that he chose to sing the standard Hare Krishna tune. And we also see the effects of that, the magic of Srila Prabhupada doing so, how many people were still very much attracted. So sometimes in opportunities where we do have a chance to lead Kirtan, the tendency or the motivation might be to sing that elaborate tune that you've been practicing for some time, but really honing into the fact that there's a certain mood that you're wanting to create. There are people who have never been presented with Kirtan before or starting to get used to it. That simpler does still have that same effect, and we should be using it as often as we can.
Right. Yeah, so it's unfortunate that we don't know traditional melodies so much. It was more common in the 70s when devotees were hearing some of those things, like from Gaudiya Math temples. Mm-hmm. Some of those things are being lost, and now for a lot of tunes are Bollywood tunes.
Yes.
Or, that's the other thing. So that's why some people can catch up on it, but there's some people who attempt to be like classical. Put themselves in a classical category, and I'm doing so good. I'm a hot shot here. And okay, great, we get it. You're good, but we can't follow. We can't follow your melody. It's too complicated. So follow the KISS program. Keep it simple, sadhu program. That's what we recommend.
And I think it also ends up taking away from the Mahamantra itself. Sometimes I know that, again, popular melodies that are out right now are actually coming from Bollywood tunes, which, again, if we're trying to present, we may not feel like, oh, I'm not singing it because it comes from a Bollywood song, but it can be distracting to other people. And if it's distracting, then it's actually taking away from the whole reason why we're chanting in the first place, which is to please Krishna and to, as Prabhupada had said earlier, to induce others to be part of the kirtan. So we're trying not to be distracting. We're trying to make sure that everybody can be included. And at least for this example that we're reading right now, the standard Hare Krishna tune is available for everyone. It can be followed by everyone, and it's simple in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep, good. Is everybody okay on that point? Okay. Please don't get too elaborate. It just, again, you're creating the bubble culture, and we want to get away from bubbles. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move along. Again, feel free to put up your hand if you have any questions, any doubts at all. We'll try our best to answer.
I think Kunti has a comment, and then Hitesh Prabhu.
I just wanted to ask, like this particular one, is it just for like public when we're chanting for people? Because for example, we're in a house program, everyone knows Kirtan, everyone knows how to sing. We have kind of fun doing those elaborate Kirtans. So I don't know if is this more meant for the public?
Yeah, I'd say so. Mm-hmm. Public, which also includes like temple activities. Yeah, if you got like a private group and you're doing your own versions, and there's some license for that. Yeah, it is. But again, we have to think about most situations it's the public, and a lot of people aren't so musically evolved. So we have to think about them. What's going to be good for them? If you got a group of people who've got incredible, talent, okay, go for it. Go for it. But again, think about what's good for the overall good of everyone. Okay? Great.
I think Hitesh Prabhu also has a question.
Hare Krishna, just to further clarify, could we just go back to the previous slide, please?
The one before?
Yeah, this one. So it says whenever there were guests, right? So I agree with what's being said here, and just to clarify on Mataji's point here, what about because we have 6-hour kirtans, 12-hour kirtans, or Christmas kirtans, right? And that is all that's also people that know each other. That's also people that know each other, right? Mm-hmm. So is this considered guest? Is this considered a setting where there's guests?
Well, I would just say that when you have these melas, there's a lot of people who can't follow the complicated tunes. So know your audience. If you're a presenter, you should always know your audience, who's there. And if you have a circle of friends who could do something great, but don't leave out everybody else. It's a common complaint. There's a very common complaint that says, I can't follow, the notes are too high, and they hold the notes too long, and I can't follow. It comes at me all the time. So I'm just saying that that's one of the reasons for this course. We're letting you know that there's some people having a tough time with the kirtan. So again, inclusiveness is a major theme that we've captured here. Again, if a small group want to go somewhere in a house and do your elaborate thing, fine, but keep it there, and there's a place for that.
I was going to say that, I've seen many devotees, and there's a presentation done by Gauravani Prabhu, who's many people have heard of. He's a fantastic kirtan leader, and he does a lot of these public kirtans. And one thing I heard from him was that, again, just thinking of practical things, that one of the solutions he gave was, sometimes we can take very elaborate kirtans that we enjoy a lot and be able to make it simplified. And again, this takes a lot of practice and being a bit more musically talented and really kind of working on this art. But there are ways to make the kirtan a bit, even though it's a complicated tune, to make it simpler, and also to be able to adapt in the kirtan. So for example, you were mentioning like 6-hour kirtans or other 12-hour kirtans. If you know that you're scheduled at a slot that is prasadam time and there's not going to be that many people, or it's an earlier slot and there are many new people at that time, other devotees have not joined in at that time, you might want to adjust how you're going to lead that kirtan. Again, I'm just thinking of the example that you've given. It's a fine line. I think, again, over time, being able to adapt to the situation and go, okay, I had planned out this kirtan, but looking at the crowd, this is actually a very new crowd, and I might have to shift it around or make the tune simpler or not do the long notes in that kirtan as much as you might want to, just so that, again, that inclusiveness is still established. And I think that's kind of the main principle in here, is that Prabhupada, in this situation where there were guests, he was trying to be as inclusive as possible, but if there is an ability to change that up, there's room for that. But it means being more aware of your surroundings and the people and the environment.
Okay. Yeah, I remember doing a presentation at a yoga studio in New Glasgow, Nova Scotia. And these are all new people. And we got them to dance and everything like that. When it came to a melody, I thought, well, I was kind of stuck. When it's just a good old Prabhupada melody. They call it the Prabhupada melody, which everyone knows. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And I thought maybe it's a little bland for these people. But no, they loved it. They could all sing it. And they were so united. They were all fully giving of themselves. Good. So. Let's read this one together. This is a nice narrative from the Garga Samhita, something we found out. Narada and the personified ragas. Everybody knows what a raga is? What would you call it?
Raga is a set of certain
Notes.
Designed to set a certain
Mood. Okay, mood is the word. Mood or mellow. Okay, great. Shall we read it together? 1, 2, 3. Once, while traveling throughout the universe, Narada came to a planet inhabited by many beautiful people. They lived in gorgeous palaces, dressed in splendid clothes, and were ever engaged in singing and playing on musical instruments. However, they were all deformed. Sounds a little contradictory, but anyways, let's move on. Some had no feet, some no ankles, and some no knees. Some had twisted hips, some had shriveled thighs, some had disfigured torsos, some had loose teeth, some had hunched shoulders, some had bowed heads, and some had no necks. Ed Sullivan. Okay. Astonished, Narada asked them who they were. The people unhappily replied, We are the personified ragas. We've become deformed by the sage Narada. Mad with love, he sings the wrong melodies at the wrong time, with the wrong notes, and without proper rhythm. In this way, he has broken the limbs of our bodies. Narada inquired from the ragas how his fault could be rectified. They directed him to propitiate the goddess Saraswati. He then learned from her the science of music and became an unrivaled musician. Are you going to say the end?
The end.
The end. Okay. Okay. Something. What did we glean out of that? What can we get out of that one? Anybody? Maybe we should. Yeah, go ahead.
Even great Mahajanas like Narada Muni need to follow standards.
That's good. That's great. So there's something to be said about pitch and key and hitting the right notes. We have quite a few people in my travels. It wasn't like that so prevalent in the old days, but there's a lot of people who they sing loud, but they're off key. You know, they're not following the leader. And if you're not aware of that, like I was in one temple, we did this presentation. I just asked them, do you know anybody who sings off key? And everyone mentioned the name of the temple president. And, you know, he took it really well. But he just had to hear that, you know, he's off key. So if that is a problem, take some lessons or just don't sing loud. That's the point. And in addition to that, we have contacted Krishna Dulal, who's a music teacher. He's from Russell, which is near Ottawa. He said he'll come over one weekend and offer some lessons and help us understand a little bit about the dynamics of voices and the different levels and what it means to be baritone, what it means to be a tenor. And sometimes it's difficult for the men and women, you know, to kind of follow each other. If you're a guy and you sing high pitch, some of the ladies can't do it, right?
No.
So, you know, we have to be, again, sensitive about these things, to be on board, okay? And I know some people who think they're great musicians, and I'm not a great musician. But I can tell, you know, well, they are a little bit off. You might think you're hot, you know, material, but actually maybe you need to take some lessons. And I would recommend that for anybody who needs voice lessons. And, you know, go for it. Spend the money. It's worth it. Okay. All right. The devotee by service mood, bhaktya, only can gradually know the personality of Godhead. That's from the 18th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktyamam Abhijananti. Okay. So shall we do this one together, Prabhus? 1, 2, 3, go. Srila Prabhupada didn't usually speed up the kirtan to a frenetic pitch and then stop and start again. He gradually built up to a steady, medium-slow rhythm. This gave a chance to enter into the kirtan and meditate on the chanting. The melody was simple, and he didn't change it. Okay, there's a few points. I know this came from Satsvarup Maharaj. And so, tempo in the temple, it's really important. So what does it mean? Start off nice and easy, as Prabhupada did. And then he'd build it up, the tempo, you know. And then, you know, it might reach a crescendo, you know, or like a grand finale. And that's natural. Instead of people are being in the mode of passion, starting off real fast, especially some of the young guys who are having hormonal experiences. And then they can't go any faster, then they have to stop and start again. And start. So, you know, it's good to start with that energy, nice and slow and easy and very welcoming, bringing people into the picture, you know, and let the leader lead, you know. Don't, if you got an instrument, your responsibility is not to start to take over and start to pick up the speed, which happens sometimes.
And that and it goes to that relationship or the communication that you're going to have with the devotees who are, you know, playing mridangas or kartals, that If you want the tempo to be a certain way, to be able to communicate that and not expect them to know, as long as you're keeping that kind of open and communicating, okay, we're still keeping it slow, don't take over, keep it where it is. And also, as Marge was saying, sometimes devotees are playing mridanga, you're at a crescendo and you're really there, but also be mindful of your mridanga players. If they're looking really tired and they're sweating, it might be a time to kind of bring it back down, because you don't want them to continue playing like that and be able to, and then have to stop because they genuinely can't go any further. So that communication between the leaders and the supporters is quite important in keeping that tempo and that rhythm and being able to plan out. So if you're singing for 15 minutes versus 45 minutes, you might change how that crescendo or that build-up happens.
Okay, any questions on that? Yes.
Sorry, just one second, the microphone.
You're doing good.
Oh yeah, I love it. Hare Krishna, this is not a personal attack on anybody, but just the fact that in order for us to be in coordination, like everybody is playing Mridanga. We have like 5-7 players, right? And then, I don't want to come out anybody, but this is like one person is playing Mridanga, one person is playing Kirtals, and one person is playing harmonium. It's just more coordinating that way. I hope everybody...
Instead of too many mridangas.
Yeah, because it's echoing and you can't follow like what you're singing.
Yeah, this noise, it becomes noisy, yeah. That will address as well, I believe.
I think it's
that's
coming up in the supporting, yeah. But very good point.
Mm-hmm. This is what leaders do. Kirtan played with a steady rhythm allows for a graceful dancing and melodious chanting and can continue for hours without stopping. Next. That's some leaders, the mood. Humility means that one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. So with straw in your teeth, of course, I'm not talking about literally, because if you have a straw in your teeth, you won't be able to sing very well, right? That's a gesture of humility. That's how you approach chanting. Okay? Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Radha Kircho Gopinath Ki Jai. Okay, we'll move on to the next. So let's read this one together, a letter to Mahatma 72. So if you have talent for musical achievement, that is nice. But if you nourish some idea of becoming famous by playing some music, that will be a source of frustration. The end. Pretty right to the point. Next. Together. A good kirtan leader personally tastes the nectar of the holy name. And the second part, and helps others to relish it also. He doesn't just stand with his eyes closed. He interacts with other devotees and encourages them to dance and chant enthusiastically. Of course, we had some images of some well-established kirtan leaders, right? So leaders, listen, sweet and melodious.
So I think there's a kirtan clip here.
Okay. Let's see if it works for us.
I think he's just going to fix the...
And if you put the mic to it, will that help a little?
That can... I think he's going to play it through the...
Okay.
The screen, sorry. That's the word I was looking for.
Let's go. Jai, was it lying? Sweet and melodious? Was it lying? No, okay. Just want to check. Very beautiful. Okay. Another sample. Jai, thank you very much, His Holiness Bhakti Swami, and also, what's her name again? Johnny Harrison. Yeah, should know. We traveled with her on the bus tour. Okay, supporting musicians. These are the mridanga players, which touches on your concern. Okay, let's see what we have to say about that. Respect for the instruments. Okay, that's important. Okay, what do you think this is where all the instruments are kept? What does it look like, a teenager's bedroom? Should it look like that? No. So respect for the instruments means you place them away properly. We don't have a very good arrangement, but we're working on it, for where to put our instruments and so on like that, and how to keep them maintained. Some of the kartals have ribbons of cloth that have been there for 20 years. So maybe it's a good idea to change them after a while. Put it in the laundry or something like that. Okay, let's move along. The instrument area should not look like this, most definitely. Whether it's at home or at the temple, right? Because Balaram, for instance, the mridanga is a manifestation of the Lord. How do we take care of Krishna's sacred instruments? A little bit of RESPECT would go a long way. Okay, now we're going to talk about too loud. Okay, is there something here? Most of the time in our temples, the instruments are played much louder than the singer's voice. Often only the musical instruments are heard, and the actual glorification of the Lord is barely heard. According to the rules, instruments should be subordinate to the actual singer. So just to give you an example, we have this room here, and it's so many square feet, and it also has some height. I mean, this room is very good, a fantastic room for musical expression. I was told the CBC used to come in here years ago. I'm not sure if it's true. But one person who's a sound expert, he told me that when they had when they built churches, they usually built them for the organist and for the choir and so on like that. But the sermonist, the person who's doing the talk, often had issues because it was done for, the thing was constructed, the room was constructed to the advantage of the musicians. So that's where there was a little tug of war, So in this room here, and this is one of the bigger temple rooms we have in North America. And there's some people who have really small rooms, and there's like 5 mridangas in there. Is it necessary? And I know we got some really good players in our team here, and it might be an idea to bring down the volume, but just learn how to play together, In this room, you probably only need 2 mridanga players that do an apt job, But we don't want to discourage anybody, do we, Abhay? So maybe it's a good idea to bring down the volume and just play subtly together and learn how to play together. Work on the preparedness. Prepare, rehearse. So that's important. Any other questions? Loud? That addresses your thing. Yeah, go ahead. Hitesh. You. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, I just want to bring up a point, so the speakers, right? They're on the outside of the room, and then the singer's usually in the middle, and then, when we have big functions, people are standing between these speakers, and then the singer, right? So that's why for 12-hour Kirtan, we have a monitor that's pointed towards the singer so they could hear themselves, right? So the complaint that I hear a lot is, oh, the singer can't hear themselves, right? And then like I'm running back and forth between the mixer here to keep cranking up the volume, and the volume on the mixers are already cranked up like all the way, right? And still the singer can't hear themselves, right? So this is I think this ties into this because the singer can't hear themselves, and I think that might be where this is originating from, maybe.
I know in the past we would sing maybe either on the side over here, so for that same reason, for the being able to monitor your own sound. And so that might be something to consider, or having a monitor constantly. That's also another thing that we can kind of establish in our regular kirtan, so that that's there, because I've been in your position too, where you have to crank up the volume because the devotee can't hear themselves. But then what ends up happening is then everybody else is blasted with a lot of sound. And unfortunately, there are people who can't handle that physically. So I think that might be the solution going forward, is to having a monitor that can be there for the devotee who's singing. So it's establishing that as well.
Yeah, I know when we're doing a drama, and you have to have a monitor on the stage, so the actor can hear themselves. Otherwise, they might not be in sync with any musical background. So it's necessary to hear yourself, yeah. So that's something we can discuss here in terms of our local situation, yep. Or any other future projects, like, we'll have bigger temples in the GTA than this here, bigger facilities, bigger rooms, and we have to solve that particular problem. So in Mayapur this year, we performed our drama in the TOVP. It's a huge place. I was wondering, how are we going to do this? But somehow or other, we managed really well because we had monitors in there. The speakers were in the right place. And we had, Mahadev and Annapurna. He's got that gift, and we had some good sound people in there. So investing in your good sound equipment, good speakers, being in the right places, and monitors and all that, and sound levels, really, really, it's important, if we want to make it attractive, that's important. Okay, let's move along. And we are going to take prasadam in a few minutes, so
30.
Bear with us, okay? Okay, quality versus quantity, and really that's the topic that we've been touching on already, okay? Hey, have you ever been in a place where not just less is more, okay. Been in a place where the kartals are really loud, like just kartals, like it's so offensive to the ears, and we'll talk a little bit about the decibel levels that are very necessary to work with. Okay, less is more. Supporting musicians. In kirtan, all musical instruments, including the mridanga and kartals, must be played in a mood of serving the kirtan, not controlling it. Don't try to be Bhagavan. Don't try to be God, with your instruments. Be a servant of God with the instruments, whether it's voices or instruments. The voice is an instrument, by the way. Okay. Okay, supporting musicians. Okay, we need to play the instruments thoughtfully, not like these two monkeys, okay? I guess it's one of those things. Okay, that's all there is to it.
How many can attest that they've heard a recording of a kirtan that does actually sound like that?
Okay, let's move along. I've had my share of monkeys in Vrindavan this year. Okay, kartals, watch. We're going to zero in on Prabhupada's use of the kartals. Notice how he releases the thumbs so that the kartals will have an extended ring. Thank you, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Let's read this together. Krishna consciousness means compassion. So we have to be aware that many people are sensitive to metallic sounds. There are many reports of people leaving kirtans because the kartals clanging causes physical pain. Yeah? The kartals, whether it's indoors or outdoors, they can be very piercing. And we see people, they just hold their ears. Generally, people like drums better, and so that's very, it moves people's bodies.
And the kartals has a very piercing sound.
The piercing sound, that's a good word, and very intimidating, I went to the Mardi Gras, not to participate, but we were there to have kirtan, and our little drama troupe got bumped for some professional bhajan group that got in there. So we were all in makeup and everything, and I remember our actors being so frustrated, said, okay, well, why don't we just do kirtan? Keep your clothes on, We looked like pirates and all that. That's the way we were dressed. It was the Jagannath story. We went into the public and people loved it. But when we got to the area where the horses were, they just couldn't handle the kartals. Same thing, New Year's Eve. The police are on horses. And the kartals, one officer, oh, what's that? And it was our kartals that did it. So, by the way, if you want to go camping in Canada, in the wilderness, and if you want to keep the bears away, just keep playing kartals, because they can't stand it. Or you have a bell that goes ding, ding, they can't handle that piercing sound. So think about it. And when we hear about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, thank you, organizing kirtans at the Rath Yatra site, he said, so many people play mridangas, I need so many dancers, I need so many people who are going to play kartals. Now the kartals in Orissa are not like our kartals. They're like wampers. And they don't pierce the ear like in the same way. Pierce the ear? No, sounds funny. It's different. And I've been to an event in Orissa, to a town where we were being greeted treated like celebrities, myself and some grahastas from the community here. And we had about a dozen guys, well-practiced, well-rehearsed, who played these jajas. I don't know if these, wampers, we call them sometimes. And they did such a splendid job. No mridangas were required, no other instruments. It was just so pleasing. And I'm hoping one day at one of our Rath Yatra carts, we can just have them. Like just a bunch of guys, 5 or 6 are needed, that's all, to make the noise. And it's beautiful. It's a different sound from the mridangas. In fact, at Rath Yatra, every kirtan sounds the same. But it'd be nice if we had some variation, wouldn't you say? Be nice. Okay, good. So let's read this one together. Jamil, you came at the right time. Here's the seat for you. Okay. So all you have to do is listen, that's all. Just listen. You can contribute when it's called for. Everybody knows Jamil, right? Okay, so let's do this together. Mridanga and kartal should be played together harmoniously to enhance the transcendental sound vibration of the holy names. Kartal should be chimed sweetly like gopis' ankle bells. They should not be clanked together like dustbin lids. Okay? It should sound nice. All right. Those feet are, okay. Here's another demonstration of how kartals could be sweet sounding, Kartals. Hear them? It's nice. It's not intrusive. Sweet. Prue. You got the kartals, they're hardly heard, but it complements what's there, supports. And of course, the Mahamantra can be heard. Okay, thank you. We're going to talk about clapping too, by the way. Shall we do this one together? It's a mantra. 1, 2, 3, go. Mridanga Brahma Rupaya lavanya rasa madhuri sahasra guna sangyutam mridangaya namo namaha. And what does it mean? Together. Unto the mridanga, that supreme Brahman, formed as a clay drum, which is infused with the sweet mellows of graceful enchantment and endowed with thousands of transcendental qualities, I bow down again and again. Isn't that interesting? We're part of a culture where you bow down, you offer obeisance to your instruments, just like the Kshatriyas in the time of war are in their preparedness. They will worship their weapons. They even have names for them. They keep them clean. They maintain them. Any questions or comments? Yeah.
Why we bow down to the Midanga? Actually, Midanga is nonetheless the flutes of Krishna. When Lord Mahaprabhu was coming to do his performing in the age of Kali Sankirtan movement, so he is bringing all the associate. So flute never leave Krishna, right? So flute saying, what is my performance, where I'll be? Then Krishna says, don't worry. You'll be in age of Kali as a form of a Midanga. So flute become Midanga. That's why Midanga sound is totally unique. You cannot compare with dholak, nal, tabla, nothing. It's totally spiritual. And as you say, Midanga sound, as far as Midanga sound goes, got purified. That's why Midanga should, and also Midanga has special mantra.
Yeah, good. And that's why I'm saying that instead of being loud with the mridanga, why don't you bring out all the beautiful nuances that come out of tapping it, for instance. Some of you are very good at that with the mridanga. I agree with you. It's the best drum on the planet. You know, it outshines every other. But we don't hear those subtleties very often because everyone we're going for loudness. And that's not what we need. Okay, let's move along. Watch. Okay. Prabhupada ki. Hey, commit. Hey, supporting musicians. Hang in there. Okay, I got it. Some of these images are new to me. Don't give. At first, let's do this. And then, nope. Okay. I'm tired. I'm bushed. That's a cute one, isn't it? Okay, we do see this happen. It's a habit. A musician, people are up there with their instruments, whatever it may be. You start, you finish it. You don't just stop in the middle of it. I'm tired now. Okay, we see that happens. Would the Rolling Stones do that? Mick Jagger's an old guy. How old is he? He's got to be 80 or something.
At least.
Still on the stage, still going strong. I'm just giving a mundane example. Is he going to give up in the middle? I'm tired now. You guys take over. No. So from start to finish, not only that, start to finish, have your instruments ready before the Mangalarti. Nobody should be grabbing, there should be a schedule, you know. And you're on, you be ready. You have the mridanga prepared. You have it ready. Sometimes it requires a little water on the edge because it's very dry in the wintertime, right? Inside or outside. Preparedness. I'll give you another example. I was traveling with a bus tour and we went to a place in Colorado. I think it's called Cannon City. So it was a day off for our bus tour. We had boys and girls, one boy bus, one girl bus, okay? So we were on the grass at a park, and across the street was more grass and people. And there was the band, the local marching band were out there, and they were rehearsing. And I told Manaram, you know, why don't we rehearse for our kirtans, for our public venues like Rath Yatra? Why don't we practice more? So it was just Krishna saying that that's what you have to do. You know, So they had these guys with tubas, they had marching drums, but they were practicing. And so it's important to practice with your instruments, right? That shows you love them when you use them, and not just for show or just like practice makes perfect, right? Okay, let's go. We should know our capacity. The sound system is an instrument too, okay? The sound system should be adjusted so that it sounds clear, sweet, and attractive as opposed to overly loud, distorted, or painful, okay? Look, we've been touching on all of this, right? Volume is everyone's responsibility. Long periods of exposure to sounds exceeding 85 decibels is considered risky. You can lose your, hearing power. Okay, would you like to tackle this one?
So 90 to 95 decibels regular sustained exposure causes hearing damage. As an example, the noise from ordinary city traffic while inside a vehicle is 80 decibels. So if we were to test our temple room during a Sunday feast kirtan, I would be pretty confident it's above 95 decibels at that time. So kind of like that the previous slide said, like it is everyone's responsibility. I think what we're really trying to hone in on here is just that awareness. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's just the kirtan leader or the supporting kirtan leaders or, supporting kirtan members or the audience itself. It's just everyone's responsibility to just kind of continue to adjust and be aware of the sound volume.
Yeah, and it's not a competition to see who can outdo each other with the volume. It's more about being complementary to each other and equalization. Every instrument should be heard, the voice as well, and particularly the voice. The mantra has to come through. Let's move along. Temple kirtans often exceed well over 85 decibels. Is this a good illustration or what? Okay. Now we've never brought this to the fore before, It's important to mention because the complaints come to us. Warning, should this be a Sunday standard? Okay, let's go. Okay. Does that look attractive?
I mean, devotees are happy, they are smiling, they're dancing, but what comes off is completely different.
It's noisy. It's noisy. It's become noise. Okay. I don't know if you want to.
So, I mean, this is just, a diagram of if we were to look at 100 plus decibels, kirtan would probably be up over there, and it's certainly showing red, and we know what red means in a traffic sign. It means to stop. And then, if anybody wants to take a closer look, things like normal conversation or whispers, kind of 0 to 80 decibels, and you can withstand that, up to 12 hours. Up to 8 hours is city traffic, chainsaw, football game, and then where kirtan is kind of being placed over here is likened to a leaf blower, a rock concert, a jet taking off. So these are pretty, not exaggerated, but pretty extreme examples that are also presented with kirtan. So it helps to, know where we are and where we should try to move towards.
Okay, great. We'll move along. Oh, go ahead.
Actually, in the temple kirtan, is not the mridanga, it's a kartal. When you have a big jambe kartal, because the metal picked up the sound in the ears, where it's like spearing. It's not the mridanga sound, it's a kartal.
Yeah, I think we brought that point up. The kartals become unappealing. Yeah, they're piercing. Yeah, more than the mridanga. Okay. Okay, so responders. This is the third group that we're talking about when it comes to kirtan, right? What was the first group, first category? The leaders, particularly with the voice. The next group is the supporting people, that's right, musicians even. And now we have the responders, everybody else clicking in. So let's do this together. 1, 2, 3. Singing, dancing, clapping. You're part of the ensemble, but for your own advancement and to nicely attract others. To be successful, humility, cooperation, and self-awareness are required. Very good. Nice. Together, that we're talking. Just as by clapping the hands, one can cause many birds to fly away. Similarly, the birds of all sinful activities which are sitting on the body can be made to fly away simply by dancing and clapping before the deity of Krishna. And that's from the Nectar of Devotion. So clapping is something that we like to do. Let's see. Okay. Anyone, together, Prabhus, loud and clear. Anyone can chant Hare Krishna. There is no need for instruments. Although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced the mridanga, drum, and kartal, cymbals. Otherwise, clapping in itself is sufficient. It's very nice when people clap together. Why don't we just try? This is a little experiment, because a lot of times we find when you ask people, let's clap together, it comes out like popcorn, the sound of popcorn. Okay, but let's try it. That's pretty good. Really, that was exceptional. Because a lot of times when people clap, and it's done very spontaneously in a kirtan. Someone comes in, kind of just on the road, and they just start clapping like this, out of tune, out of sync, rhythmic, and it's like, it kind of spoils the whole thing. So I would just say when it comes to clapping or any instrument, don't just volunteer to come in there. Get in sync with the person who's leading. Okay. All right. Together, Prabhus, a person who is in a jubilant spirit, who feels profound devotional ecstasy while dancing before me, and who manifests different features of bodily expression, can burn away all the accumulated sinful reactions he has stocked up for many, many thousands of years. From the Nectar of Devotion. What a great image, by the way. They're all good. Okay, wow, that's new. Let's go for it. This is dancing now. Dancing is very good. The more you dance, the more you become light. Means the burden of material contamination becomes reduced. Dancing is so nice. Even if you don't feel ecstasy, if you dance by force, that will also help. Great. Good. Dancing in circles, okay? Okay, that's good. Great, great. We're going to do some more dancing demos. After Prasadam, we'll do some dancing, okay? Maybe that's not the right time to do it. So let's see what else we've got here, okay? Watch Prabhupada's.
Something that all of the youth were really attracted to. And he was really something of a Pied Piper. You can see here how much everybody is participating. These are not just devotees, but all of the people here in the park were completely open to this. As a matter of fact, so much so that they considered the Hare Krishna to be the hippie religion at this point in 1967 in San Francisco. So many hippies were in love with Prabhupada and in love with the devotees and considered themselves very much a part of Hare Krishna.
Jai, thank you very much. Jai, Prabhupada ki. Jai. That was at Hippie Hill at San Francisco. So we're going to demonstrate a few more elements of dancing, because like we've moved from the musical side, and now we're going to the dancing, which is